Hello everyone and welcome to the Q2 2019 development update video. I'd like to start off by saying thank you to everyone for your support, and we are completely blown away by just how many people submitted feedback in the inaugural ICC, the Invox Community Club questionnaire. There has been so much feedback there that has been extremely valuable to the development team, and where possible, we have integrated the changes that have been asked for into our current development stream. Of course, we already had a lot of what was planned for this quarter's development before we had done the questionnaire, but where it was simple and easy for us to do so without putting anything else aside, we integrated. If there was something that you suggested that you don't see yet, we will be getting to as much of it as possible. It's just that some things are easier to change and some things need to be worked on separately. So where things were changed, I'm going to point it out because I think it's super exciting that we've got such an engaged community that's actually providing us with feedback. But the focus of this development update will be what we did in quarter two of 2019. And a lot of that work has predominantly been hyperledger integration work with our strategic partner IBM. And I'm really excited that we got this mammoth task out of the way. We can now have our blockchain operating in the background fully with dynamic invoices and verifications, for example, and I'm going to showcase some of that. What I won't be showcasing is a repetition of the entire user story. If you want to go and have a look at how all the users interact with each other and how sort of the front-end elements work, you can have a look at the Q1 2019 update, the one prior to this one. But what I'll be doing is showing all of the authentication and how everything is interacting with the blockchain in this video, because that was the task that our dev team worked so hard to get done in this quarter, that strategic integration with our partner at IBM. So one of the first changes you'll see is that sign in with Google. So prior, if you look at the last version, it was just a username and password. It's going to be much simpler this time. You just click sign in with Google. You'll see I've got some accounts here for testing. So let's say I'm a seller. I've clicked here on my Gmail. If I'd already signed in, as I've already signed in here, it won't ask you for your Gmail password, but if not, then it will prompt you for that. In the future, we'll be integrating with other providers such as Facebook or LinkedIn, but for now, we'll just be using Google. Now, the key thing here is that it's one simple access point for the user, the small to medium enterprise business owner. And what that means is that your identity, your Hyperledger identity, is being managed for you. You don't have to worry or learn about that. However, in the future, we are going to be creating ways for more crypto-savvy users to control that identity, control their keys. But for the time being, we want to make it as simple as possible from the user's perspective. And so let's say I wanted to create a dynamic invoice. I go here, you can see there are already some invoices there. So if I click create invoice, so I'll select a buyer from the list, values, let's say monthly subscription for July, quick reference 8, invoice 8. Oh wait, so we've already done those, so let's do 9. Create it for the today, the 2nd of July, and have it due by the end of the month. So I'm just saying, please note the change in BSB and account number, because as a seller, you'll be changing into your segmented accounts. So your payers will be paying to us instead of to you. So quickly putting in here the monthly subscription. Let's say you had 150 people at $25 and you wanted to give a 5% discount. So we've put in all the required information. You'll notice that the look and feel of both the platform as well as the invoice has changed a bit. And so this was from direct feedback from our community, Invox Community Club. Basically, people wanted there to be the colors to be more aligned with our brand, to be a bit more vibrant, to look a little bit more modern. So we've added some more white space. We've made it a little bit cleaner. We've tried to keep to just a few colors and some really vibrant colors. A lot of the feedback we also got from business owners was making sure that invoices worked like their enterprise systems or the old accounting systems that they were using. So basically making sure that there were buyer references, order references, as well as invoice numbers. So you can see we've now implemented that. The ability to put in an address and a phone number, an attention line. So if you're billing to different people within organizations, or you want a specific person to pay off that bill, in accounts, for example. And so adding discounts to invoices in the line item and tax totals, whether it's inputting the amount or inputting a percentage, all of these things have been absolutely great. It's so fantastic to be able to have people to say, we want this put in while we're still developing, because that's the easiest time for us to be able to add these features into the platform. We've also changed some of the colors and placement to make it much clearer where your fees are being charged, what interest you're being charged, and also this box here, which just goes a continuation of the invoice that you're creating. Obviously, terms and conditions, so you agree to that. And so let's say now we want to transfer this to Mr. Bob Buyer. So I'll click transfer here. You can also save it. Again, I'm not going to go over the features that I've already gone over in the first quarter update. So what I want to show here is if I click over to this tab here, this is a bit like Etherscan, but for hyperledger, and it shows all the blocks and all the transactions. So if I quickly refresh this, you'll see 22 seconds since the last transaction that I just made. We've got block 370, so we've got 370 blocks. If I click here, you can see the UUID, a bit like a TXID on Etherscan. That's the unique identifier for that transaction that just happened. I can click here and view the details. So you can see the input data and the output data, which is reflective of, you can see there's the phone number that we put in, there's Mr. Bob Buyer. But the most important thing is that it's reflected on the blockchain, and the dynamic invoices are currently live. Now, if I go back, log out from Sally Seller, you can see that this has changed a little bit as well. We've put all of your personal information and logins up in the top corner. You can manage your profile and your settings, but let's just quickly log out from Sally. Sign in as Mr. Bob Buyer. So we can see Bob, you can see his activity bar down here. You can see he's been transferred an invoice. If I go down to invoices, click on that invoice 9. Now we can see that the invoices come through, an attachment with the invoice. We've got the pricing, and down the bottom here we've got the verification. So we've got positive, negative, or a dispute. Now let's say he's happy with this invoice. He can also see the comments, so there isn't a way for this going back. So positive verification, let's assume that Bob is happy with this, the prices are right. He clicks positive verification. And now you can see that that status is positively verified. He's going to get his reward for positively verifying that invoice. But again, what I really want to show here is if I go back to Scanner, refresh, we can see the blocks have gone up, another block, 20 seconds. So just as I just click that, if I go here, we've got a separate unique ID, separate to the one that we just saw earlier. So if I click here, have a look at the action, and we can see here that this is a different information. The information input that we've got here is a verification. So we've got that we've got a verified date, who it's been verified by, and all the different information associated with that verification. And what that means is that when I go back, for example, log out and go to Sally the seller, she can go and click on her invoices, and she can see that there's a positive verification there. And that verification is recorded on our blockchain. It's a private permission blockchain, just to remind everyone, which means that Sally can see her own invoices. The buyers that she transfers, when she clicks that transfer button, when she's making the invoice, they can only see invoices that have been transferred to them. Sally can only see her own invoices. and investors can see those positive verifications or negative or disputes only against the invoices which they have fragments, and they can only see the information which is not private business confidential information. For example, the line items, the discounts, the addresses, or who specifically they're issuing that invoice to. And by using Hyperledger, we have now all of the permissions in place, and it means that we can control who can see what and provide immutability. For example, you can go and see that this transaction has been made without disclosing specific information to participants that should not see that information. And that's really the key feature that we've got here, that integration with IBM, the integration with Hyperledger, that is really pushing forward the platform and making it one huge step closer to hard launch. As I stated in the update, we're going to be the update on Medium. We're going to be working towards soft launch. That soft launch will be putting some of ABR's clients on to test the system for UAT before we go to hard launch. And also before soft launch, we're going to be continuing to test the platform, continuing to integrate changes. For example, making things more clear, as people have said, updating look and feel, updating things around how different functions work, where they're placed on the screen, extra functionality, removing some functionality. And also another thing that we've been working on that's going to be continue to be worked on throughout the year is integration with different accounting software. So for example, right now, you're still entering the data of an invoice yourself. In the future, we are working towards integration where you can just link in with your accounting software, Xero, Myob, all the different accounting software out there. And whether you create an invoice here to reflect it there, or whether you already created an invoice on that system and you want it to reflect back here. So that's future work. We're also currently in the testing phase of the mobile app, which will let you quickly access all the information that you want to at a glance. And be able to create invoices or pay invoices or verify invoices depending on which user you are. So again, I just also, I think I briefly touched upon this. You can now access your profile through this bar up here. For example, if Miss Sally Seller also had an account where she was a buyer for someone else, she could log in as a different role. But for now, she's just Sally the seller. And you can just quickly and simply log out and log back in using your Google account for authorization. So thank you everyone for listening along. We're going to be having another Invox Community Club questionnaire coming out this quarter. A lot of the questions there will be around how people want to be able to see certain information reflected from the blockchain. So, whether or not people want to see the UUID, whether they want to be able to have a little explorer somewhere. Those are the sorts of things we're going to ask our community because we understand that business owners have different preferences depending on the size of the business and how they want to interact with the platform. And so that's going to be coming up very soon. And we really, really appreciate all the feedback that we've gotten and really want to continue to engage with our community so we can make this platform the best possible platform we can. Thank you.